Hello, everybody. I am back for the moment. Sorry I didn't put anything up for the last couple of days. I got kind of distracted. My brother came home from college for a little while, and then I had softball again. But I'm here to do Chapter 5 of Applejack and Rainbow Dash Go to Whitecastle. Um, there was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember what it was. So, I guess we'll get started then. Chapter 5 Going for the One. Applejack sat on a chair outside Rainbow Dash's hospital room while the doctor was patching her up. She could hear the Pegasus ranting about her situation through the door, and the poor doctor had to bandage her up all the way through it. Sighing, Applejack took a look at some of the bandages that adorned her own body. Damn that Rainbow Dash. She could certainly find ways to make up for a wrong when you least expect it. Applejack smiled and shook her head. Only R.D. would have known that a brawl would be the perfect apology for her. Hi, Applejack. That was awful. Goodness. Oh, that's not even Rainbow Dash. Hi, Applejack. I am very rusty right now. Bear with me, please. A mare's voice suddenly proclaimed beside her. She jumped slightly and snapped her head in the voice's direction. Ditsy-do? She gasped, getting to her hooves as the other Pegasus smiled at her. What are y'all doing here? Whoa, Applejack uttered when she saw the bandage wrapped around Ditsy's head, and another set on one of her wings. Did Trixie do that to you? Yeah, but me, Comet, and Dinky busted her up nice and good, she stated proudly. Applejack blinked. She would have laughed at any pony that told her Ditsy-do would ever say something like that, and in such a casual and chipper manner, on top of that. Dinky's got a bump on her head, not nearly as bad as the gash and concussion I got, thank heavens. And Comet Tail, he lost his tail, or most of it. The bone itself, not just hair, half of it won't be coming back. That's terrible, Applejack exclaimed, shocked and appalled, and now feeling bad that she and Rainbow had left them back there. As if to salt that wound, Ditsy went on. I can see why you and Rainbow Dash ran away from her. She gave us one hell of a fight. Applejack couldn't think of a response. As for Trixie, Ditsy continued, she's got 2 broken legs, a worse concussion than me, internal bleeding, and all of her hair was burned off. Ditsy grinned like she had announced she got a raise at work. Applejack was still left speechless. Only one odd line of mind dialogue came to her. Boy howdy, can Ditsy and her fam buck some ass. Shaking her head out of its stupor, Applejack inquired, Are Comet Tail and Dinky gonna be okay? I noticed they ain't here. Oh, Dinky went back to get us snacks from a vending machine while we wait for the doctors to finish up with Comet. I just happened to notice you from down the hall, she replied, glancing behind herself to a door at the end of the corridor. They could see Dinky trotting happily back down the hall, levitating some candy bars with her magic. Her father was good at teaching the little filly basic magic. Well, I notice your sentences are more sensical, Applejack said, immediately asking herself, what the hell kind of a question was that? You twit? Ditsy gave her a troubled look at that. You know, I noticed that too. It must be because of the head wound. I hope that sensical stuff isn't permanent. Applejack gave her a flat look at that. Yeah, I see that rationale level is considerably higher. I know, right? I'll have to ask the doctors about it, Ditsy said back. Here, Mommy, Dinky said when she trotted back up to them, levitating a candy bar to her mother. Thank you, Muffin, Ditzy said back, patting the filly on her head. Oh, hi, Applejack, Dinky said to the orange mare. Did you get beat up too? I did, as a matter of fact, Applejack chuckled. Oh, by who? Ditzy wondered, frowning in concern. Well, it was Rainbow Dash, she answered nervously, feigning amusement. Oh, I see, Ditzy said as if she understood. What? She must have been apologizing to you. Applejack smiled in relief, now that she didn't have to launch into how that came out. Yeah, it was. She cut herself off, frowning when she realized something. Wait a damn minute. How did... The door to Rainbow's room was thrown open, and so a tray of bandaging tools was also thrown into the wall through the doorway. Oh, God, I'm cold right now. That was followed by a startled doctor who scrambled out of the room, thoroughly shocked. Miss Dash, he exclaimed, affronted. Don't make me throw you out of this hospital, he roared. He ducked when a stool was next aimed at for his head. Fuck you and fuck this hospital, Rainbow screeched, stomping out of the room. I'll leave myself. She nearly fell over when her injured leg gave out. She growled angrily, giving an instinctive buck of agitation, but that only made the leg worse. Applejack came to save Rainbow from a real fall, and surprisingly enough, Rainbow smiled back at Applejack gratefully instead of pushing her off out of pride. Thanks, AJ, she said back. Then she gave a glower to the thunderstruck doctor before saying, Let's get out of this lame-ass hospital. She turned away, not even taking notice of Ditzy and Dinky, who were shocked into silence like the doctor. Twilight gave a loud yawn as she levitated the last book into its proper place on one of the numerous bookshelves of her library home. She stretched as she got up. Sorry about that. She stretched as she got to her hooves from the couch, glancing at the grandfather clock nearby the dying fireplace. It was 10:30 now. She chuckled softly. Maybe I should follow Spike's advice and get to bed on time like he does. She frowned. I hope Rainbow Dash and Applejack are taking care of him. She knew they wouldn't be back until midnight, or maybe a little earlier if they made good time. Right. They're making good time. Trying to put her worries aside, she turned to head for bed when a knock came to the door. Who could that be at this hour? She murmured to herself. Twilight walked over to the front door and pulled it open. Her eyes bulged when she looked up to see who the arrival was. One with a pure white coat, queenly jewelry adorning her body, and a long flowing rainbow mane. Wait, what? Oh! Princess Celestia! Twilight exclaimed. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. Twilight, was the princess's curt greeting, with little to no emotion. He spelled no like with little to no emotion, as in with little to no, as in knowledge. K-N-O-W, emotion. I have never seen that expression before used in that way. That made Twilight extremely nervous. Greetings, Twilight, said another voice behind her. The Sun Princess stepped aside so Twilight could next see. And Princess Luna? She squeaked. Your Highnesses, what are you... Twilight, I'll be frank. We need to have a talk about the do's and don'ts of pranks. Celestia cut in, making herself at home as she stepped into the library with her sister in tow. Pranks? Twilight repeated. Celestia glanced back at her and cocked an eyebrow. Yes, Twilight, I'm rather surprised you're not acknowledging the fact that you and Spike pranked me earlier. Now, while you... I'm doing too much of a fancy accent. While you do not mind a tasteful prank now and again, you took yours a little far. I see you rather realize that, Celestia noted by the look on Twilight's face. But I didn't prank you, Twilight exclaimed. This surprised the royal princesses even more, prompting them to give each other surprised glances. Twilight, you've always been so honest, Celestia commented, not sure what to make of the new behavior from her pupil. I am always honest, Twilight cried, tears welling in her eyes. I would never prank you. Why would you accuse me of that? Both Celestia and Luna became alarmed now that they had upset Twilight. Twilight was always so humble. She wouldn't prank me in such a way, Celestia said to herself, starting to feel guilty for making the young mare cry. But does this mean it was Spike acting alone? It's okay, Twilight, Celestia cooed, laying next to the violet unicorn and draping a comforting wing over her. Twilight looked back up at her with big blue swimming eyes. Still as a child. Oh, still just a child, Celestia thought to herself, smiling gently down at Twilight. Luna sat and watched interestedly. Making of the time, most of the times Twilight interacted with her sister, she wasn't there for it. I should have realized you would not prank me, whether great or small. But there's no need to feel terrible for it. I know you would never have any negative intentions in your actions concerning me. Twilight sniffled and wiped some tears from her eyes, finally smiling. Okay, she said meekly, then frowned. But then, how would you think I pranked you? Only Spike could possibly... Twilight cut herself short, gasping. She jumped to her hooves, making Celestia withdraw her wing. Rainbow Dash! Was the name Twilight next shouted with venom. Whatever. Taking Luna and Celestia by surprise yet again. She must have used Spike to prank you with whatever they pranked you with. And that Applejack, she was with them. She must have known what they were up to. Which means, A, she must have been involved, or B, she wasn't sensible enough to stop it. I don't know which is more likely, but that still doesn't excuse her from being partly responsible, considering she was supposed to be sensible, especially for Rainbow. Twilight snorted. She glanced at the princesses, whom just stared at her blankly. What? She asked them innocently. Yes, Luna said next. I remember that Rainbow Dash from last Nightmare Night. She was indeed keen on pranking people with that thundercloud. I can see her convincing your assistant to prank my sister. I have to agree with Luna, Celestia spoke up, getting to her hooves. Spike has always been less formal than you, no offense to him. He is a baby dragon. It is his nature, I suppose. Ugh, Twilight growled. When I get my hooves on him... She was interrupted when her door was thrown open, and a pink mare staggered through, panting loudly with her tongue hanging out. On her back was some purple thing dressed up like a pimp. Twilight squinted her eyes when she saw it was... Pinkie Pie? She asked. The magenta earth pony looked at her, looking like she had ran a marathon. She obviously had. We took a Trixie to... We took a Trixie to the knee, she gasped, then noticed the royalty in the room. Oh, hi, princesses. Maybe you can give Trixie back her caravan. She might stop trying to kill us. What? Celestia blurted out. No sense of royal arcane... No sense of royal arcane... God. No sense of royal arcane eloquence apparent in her speech or tone. She just looked bemused, along with Luna. So, why did you send the caravan in the first place? Luna asked. Ho gave me a kick, the purple pimp spoke up from Pinkie's back, and Twilight now saw it was Spike, and he looked terrible. Spike! She gasped, galloping over to Pinkie and snatched the baby dragon from her back. Spike, what happened to you? Are you okay? He spewed all over her, pushing her back with his cane. He got slowly to his feet. Nothing Papa Spike ain't hardy enough to handle, biatch. Pimp Spike is best Spike. This is great. Twilight stepped back, the look on her face positively thunderstruck. What? Did you just call me a bitch? She asked quietly. The other three glanced from Twilight to Spike. No. Open your ears. I called you a biatch. Spike retorted, stamping his cane on the ground and giving a contemptuous look to Twilight. Her eye twitched, and a snarl curled her upper lip. Uncanny heat began to radiate from her body as her face contorted monstrously, and the others stepped back. Even the princesses were fairly intimidated by Twilight's behavior. Spike glanced at her, recognizing the behavior. Oh, here we go again. Just like Trixie. Y'all are gonna turn into a Roman candle and start screaming and that. And that did it. Twilight exploded in a brilliant maelstrom of flames, her coat turning white and her mane and tail billowing fire like an ignited gas leak. Her eyes turned a shining ruby red, and the flames licked Spike's body. Although the dragon himself was unharmed, the costume was completely obliterated. Spike gasped. "My threads!" he exclaimed, and his persona actually seemed to revert back to his usual self. The hat that Shirley gave me, I love that hat, he cried, but not even ashes were left of it. He looked to the still flaming Twilight, but now she landed serenely on the ground, still in that odd rage mode, but it seemed collected now, and Spike was indeed afraid. Twilight? He said in a small voice. I would like to hear an apology from you, dearest number one assistant, Twilight said in a deadly tone. I'm sorry, he said in a panic, stepping back from Twilight. And just as suddenly as the flames had come, they extinguished themselves and Twilight returned to her normal self. She smiled contentedly, straightening her mane with a forehoof. There we go. That's all the spiky wikey I know. That's the spiky wikey I know, said she. My goodness, Twilight, Celestia uttered. That was a new side of you. Twilight blushed as she glanced at Celestia. Sorry, I lose it sometimes, but I've gotten better at controlling it. Then, out of nowhere, Pinky blurted out, Blame sea salt! AJ and Dashy were on the stuff all night. A heavy silence fell about the room, and the two princesses looked to Pinky for a long while. At some point, Celestia said, The elements of honesty and loyalty consume sea salt? Yeah, that's why they got the munchies and had to go to Whitecastle. I sent Spike with ponies who were high? Twilight shouted, aghast. I should have known. I did know there was something off about them. Celestia stamped her hoof, silencing Twilight. This is an outrage, she hissed. Uh-oh, Luna whispered. Oh, goodness. Too much Celestia talking. I'm very bad at her voice. Twilight Sparkle, the ruler of Equestria said to her protege. We take counsel now to discuss the matter of your friends Applejack and Rainbow Dash violating equestrian law by abusing illegal substances. While I am strict with that law, I am fair. I am sure there is something you have to say about something you have to say about them. As Twilight stammered in response, taken aback at how businesslike her teacher had become, Pinky watched silently. However, Luna whispered into her ear. Pinkamena Pie, would you speak with me in private for a moment? Pinky looked at the Moon Princess. Oh, sure, she said back cheerily. Luna glanced at Spike. You as well, would you? Okay, he replied hesitantly. Luna led them into the kitchen and closed the door behind their little group, cocking her ears toward the door to make sure her sister was still in her council with Twilight. She turned to the other two. Okay, Pink and Mina. You can call me Pinky. The mayor grinned widely. Very well, Pinky, Luna agreed. Tell me, did you experience the effects of sea salt when with the other elements of harmony? I see where this is going. Pinky frowned and bowed her head. I did, she said lowly. Luna slowly became dismayed. Then, without warning, Pinky stood straight up again and grinned once more. And it was awesome! Okay, hush, Luna whispered, stuffing the hoof in Pinky's mouth. She cocked her ear towards the door again. Celestia had not heard them. I resisted at first, but I realized the stuff isn't half bad. Wait, why? Pinky asked after removing Luna's hoof from her mouth. The princess glanced back at the puzzled mare, and Spike had the same look on his face as well. Luna smirked and summoned some magic. Her horn glowed its navy blue. And from the air, a bag of white, granular cubes appeared in a small magical flash. Pinky gasped, and Spike just slapped his palm to his forehead in utter disbelief, staring at the bag with wide eyes. Princess Luna? You? Spike breathed. Luna smiled smugly. Partake in the finer things in life. Indeed. Especially after all that has happened with Nightmare Moon, I need my medicine. How will Celestia react when she finds out? Spike said, glancing worriedly at the plank of movable wood that was the only. Wow, I am fumbling over my words all over the fucking place. Wood that was only between them and a demigoddess of measureless power, whose patience right now is worn thin. What?
Did you do the garbage recycling?
Busy. Where was I? Finds out. Whose patience right now was worn thin. Oh, I have a feeling dear sister will come around with a little persuasion, Luna said mischievously, tossing the bag of sea salt up and down in her hoof lightly. Wait, you don't mean... Spike trailed off. She's gonna therapize Celestia like AJ and Dashie did to me, Pinky proclaimed gleefully, bouncing up and down. Ever since I yacked up the sea salt from my system, I've been regretting it. She carried on cheerfully. Now we can let this story get even crazier. Indeed, Luna agreed, and promptly released 2 cubes of the sea salt from the bag. Except salt isn't really sold in cubes. Sugar is, but I don't know. Anybody who reads this, please tell me if you've ever heard of cubed salt. Sorry about the pause, and sorry about that interruption earlier. Interruptions are kind of a frequency at in my house. So yeah, just tell me. I personally have never heard of cubed salt, and I would like to know if that exists, because I'm too lazy to search it. So, here we go. I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon and do this chapter in 2 parts, because this is a tremendously large chapter. Compared to other chapters, that is. Are you going to be harsh on them? Twilight asked worriedly to her mentor about her friends. Not especially, she answered, but I still plan to remind them the order of things in this country, and it is up to them if they take my doctrines to heart. As that was said, the door to Twilight's kitchen opened, and Luna stepped out with Pinky and Spike. Spike was strangely trying, and failing, to suppress giggling, while something seemed odd about the princess and Pinkie Pie. Well, odder, in Pinky's case. Celestia turned. "Luna, is something the matter?" she asked her sister, noting the behavioral changes. That is not Celestia's voice. She does not sound like that, but I cannot think of any better way to do it. Not particularly," Luna returned slyly. Celestia noted her horn was glowing, and something was levitating behind her hindquarters. "Luna, are you hiding something?" Celestia questioned, thoroughly confused by her childlike action. "Oh." Luna tilted her head innocently. "Kinda, sorta." "Sister, what has gotten..." "Think fast, Chuckle Munch," Luna blurted out, and with that, levitated the bag straight to Celestia's muzzle. A direct hit. Her snout was now consumed by the bag and its contents. "Get her, Pinky!" Luna shouted as the dumbstruck Celestia staggered back with the bag on her snout. Pinky followed the order and went out of view. A half-second later, she reappeared with her party cannon. "This is Equestria!" Pinky cried and fired the cannon. Streamers, balloons, and confetti, and even some cream pies blasted from the cannon's... that is not how you spell cannon. Canon's barrel and straight into Celestia, knocking her to the ground. Twilight was left speechless and could only stare numbly as the scene unfolded before her. Luna pounced on her sister and made sure she consumed at least 1 cube of sea salt in the bag. But that didn't seem to be too much of a problem. Her entire face was coated by loose grains, and her pupils were quickly dilating. Oh no, not Molestia, no. Celestia wasn't even struggling anymore. Luna removed the bag to see her sister was smiling. No. Oh. I was right. "Oh, Luna, did I ever tell you how pretty your mane is?" I feel like this is going to eventually go to... "Do I make you randy, baby?" she said, extending a hoof and playing with her sister's starry hair. "Yours is pretty trippy too, sis," Luna snarked, and the two proceeded to laugh hysterically, hugging each other in tears of mirth streaming from their eyes. And that night was the final night the anti-sea salt mandates would ever be in law. Forevermore. No, I'm gonna end it there. So, part 1 of chapter 5. I would do more. I'd like to finish it, but I really don't have the time to do a whole chapter tonight. I have a lot going on and finals coming up, so I have to do stuff. But, thank you to anybody who has watched thus far. And keep an eye out for when part 2 comes out. Hopefully tomorrow. I do have a softball game tomorrow, but after that, I'll be open, so I'll probably be recording on Thursday at least. Going into summer, I will hopefully also transition back to that schedule I had set up earlier, where I do readings on a more daily basis. Again, really busy time of the year for me coming up.